Okay. All right, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. This particular video is about solving inequalities by using multiplication and division, so we'll go ahead and get started. First thing, as we go through this, you are going to need to do your 5-minute check. Please keep in mind that you need to pause, answer the question, keep note of the letter so that you can put it into the form when you're done. All right. And again, pause because I'm just going to whip right through this so it doesn't take me very long. There are 6 questions total, so that's part of your 5-minute check. Okay, now, so what we've done is we have solved equations using multiplication and division back in a previous chapter. So now we're going to solve linear inequalities using multiplication and division. So there's only a couple little extra things you have to take note of, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, basically what this says is that if you multiply on the left of an inequality by a positive number, you have to also multiply on the right. Now, how this negative numbers are different, when you multiply by a negative number, you multiply on the left as well as on the right, but you also have to reverse the inequality or flip the inequality. You'll find that that only happens when you multiply or divide by a negative number. If you multiply or divide by a positive number, it doesn't matter, and if you add or subtract a negative number, it doesn't matter. It's only when you multiply and divide. So we're going to start with multiplication first, so let's get right into that. Okay, so here's our first problem. Mateo is walking at a rate of 3/4 of a mile per hour. He knows that it is at least 9 miles to Onk's Lake. How long will it take Mateo to get there? Write and solve an inequality to find the length of time. So what do you understand? You know the rate that Mateo is walking, because they tell us that it's the 3/4 of a mile, 3/4, and the approximate distance to the lake, it's at least 9 miles, okay? So the formula we want to use is D equals RT, distance equals rate times time, and we're going to write an inequality that shows that, okay? So you're going to have 3/4, which is our rate, times time gives us our distance, okay? At least means it has to be greater than or equal to, because the smallest number it can be is 9, but it can be more than 9. That's why you use the inequality greater than or equal to, okay? So 3/4 t is greater than or equal to 9. Multiply both sides by the reciprocal or divide both sides by 3/4. I honestly don't care. You're going to get the same answer. When you do that, and again, use your calculator because you guys all know how to use do fractions on your calculators. Okay? So when you multiply both sides by the reciprocal, over here you get 1, and then 4/3 times 9 is actually 12. And there you go. That's how you solve that. So notice we multiplied both sides by a number, positive, didn't change anything except the answer. Okay? So when you go back, it said that t was greater than or equal to 12 hours. Okay? So to do at least 9 miles, it's going to take at least 12 hours for Mateo to do that. How do you know? You plug in a number greater than 12 and see if it works. Okay? That's how you check an inequality. Okay, so now here is one for you to do. It works just like the previous one. On your form, it says real world example 1, just a heads up. Okay, and we're going to move on. So pick a letter and keep going. Now, for this particular example here, you'll notice that we have a negative 3/5 times d is greater than or equal to 6. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, but it's going to be negative because we need this to be a positive 1. And a negative times a negative gives me that positive. And then 5/3 times 3/5 gives me 1. So multiply both sides by a negative 5/3. Flip the inequality. One thing you do have to pay attention to, decide when you're going to flip that inequality. Is it earlier? Is it later? I personally do this step just like they did, and then they actually reverse the inequality here. I actually do the step and then reverse the inequality in the next step down. But it's really however you want to do it. So when you multiply this, you're going to get a negative 10. But notice that the inequality is now a less than or equal to instead of a greater than or equal to. So you do need to pay attention to that. Anytime you multiply by a negative number, reverse the inequality at some point. So the solution set is D such that D is less than or equal to negative 10. Again, if you just have D is less than or equal to negative 10, which is what they have right here, I'm fine with that. Most students don't use such that. Okay, that's totally a math thing. All right, So now we're going to do the same thing here. Heads up on this example. You're going to multiply both sides by a -3, which means you need to reverse the inequality. So that should help with eliminating an answer, because if the inequality is the same, you already know that answer is wrong. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next one. Okay, now we're on division. Same thing as I told you with multiplication. When you divide by a positive number, you divide on both sides by that positive number. But when you divide by a negative number, divide on both sides, but you again have to reverse or flip the inequality. So let's do one. All right, so here we are dividing both sides by 12 because it's 12k, which means it's 12 times k. And so you are going to get rid of multiplication by dividing. So you'll see what they did here is they divided both sides. I hope you're writing all of this down because, again, you need this as part of your notes. Okay, so when you divide both sides by 12, this goes to 1, so that's why you just have k. And then 60 divided by 12 is 5. So k is greater than or equal to 5. Again, this can be your answer. You don't have to write k such that k is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, so when it's positive, that's usually pretty easy. It's when it's negative that people kind of start having a few issues. Okay, so now what you notice is we have -8q is less than 136. So that means to get rid of the -8, we have to divide both sides by -8. At some point, you have to reverse the inequality. Again, I always do mine after I do the problem. That's just me. They did it during it. It's just as long as you do it, I don't care. Just don't change it more than once. Don't keep changing it. So then you have 136 divided by a -8, and that gives you q is greater than -17. Notice it was less than here. It's now greater than here. So please keep that in mind. All right. Okay. Now, here is another one for you to do. Okay. So, again, you're going to divide both sides by 15. Okay. And then really just pay attention to this side because they all have the p such that p. Okay? And then going to the next one. Now, notice the next one is exactly the same thing. Okay? So you're going to divide both sides by a -4. Don't forget to reverse your inequality. All right? And guys, that literally is the end of ours. We are done. So again, I'm hoping this is going to help you because it's really forcing you to actually pay attention and interact with your notes and take notes. So I will see you on the next video.